Okay, I'm calling the Committee of the Whole meeting for July 10th, 2017 to order. And I'm going to begin by asking Deputy Mayor Henderson if there are any additions to the agenda.
Yes, Mayor Brocanier and Council, a memo from the Planner One Heritage Secretary, Cobourg Heritage Advisory Committee regarding a heritage permit application to install a generator on the Victoria Square property, 55 King Street, West Cobourg, and a memo from the Supervisor of Roads and Sewers regarding the awarding of the tandem truck, cab, and chassis tender will be presented at the meeting. The action recommended that these matters be added to the agenda.
Okay, any discussion from Council? All in favor? It's carried. Are there any declarations of interest from members of Council? There are not any, Ms. Brace. We can proceed.
Your Worship, we have General Government Services at this time.
Deputy Mayor Henderson, I'm going to pass the chair over to you for General Government Services.
Thank you. There's a memo from the Treasurer Director of Corporate Services regarding the Audit Committee report on the review of the draft audited financial statements for the year ending December 31st, 2016. The action recommended is that Council receive the 2016 draft audited financial statements for information purposes, and further that a motion to approve the 2016 consolidated financial statements of the Corporation of the Town of Cobourg be presented at the regular Council meeting of July 17, 2017, and further that a notice be published in the newspaper and posted on the municipal website advising that the consolidated financial statements for the Corporation of the Town of Cobourg for the year ended December 31st, 2016 have been posted to the municipal website pursuant to Section 295 of the Municipal Act SO 25, 2001. If there are questions from members of Council, I'd ask that they be directed to Mr. Davey, or they can certainly be directed to the representative who's here today as well from our auditors, KPMG, and for any points of clarification. I know it's an in-depth report. I'm pleased to see in quick summary, as you will see, that we met all standards in the auditing field. We met the professional standards throughout the document. There were no errors identified from our auditors of concern in any regard. And that was the message received by the Audit Committee, made by Mayor Brocanier, Councillor Brian Darling, and myself. If there are any questions, I'll certainly take them. Councillor McCarthy?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Because these are consolidated statements, and now that I'm in Protection Services, is it just because it's the Police Act that the Cobourg Police Services aren't in there? Because, in fact, we do pay for the operational part. If anybody could answer that.
Mr. Davey, would you like to take that one?
Yes, through you, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor McCarthy, the Cobourg Police Services are included in the financial statements just the same as all other departments of the town. The consolidation aspect just brings in groups that are covered by outside boards, such as the DBIA, the Cobourg Public Library, and the Waterworks, which is managed by Lakefront Utilities on behalf of the town. But the Cobourg Police Service is not specifically identified in my report, just because of the fact that, like I say, they're similar to any other department within the town of Cobourg.
Councillor McCarthy?
Thank you. And I didn't realize that, but I always thought they were in our procedural bylaw considered a local board and not like the other departments in the town, because the governance of police services is by a separate board, membership board. But if they're in there, they're in there. I just didn't know why they weren't separated out under consolidation. Thank you.
Are there any other questions from members of Council? Are there any other questions for our representative from KPMG? Hearing none, I'll call all those in favor. Opposed? Carried. There's a memo from the Bylaw Enforcement Policy Coordinator regarding the Clean Yard Lot Maintenance Bylaw for the Town of Cobourg. The action recommended is that Council authorize preparation of a bylaw to repeal bylaw number 7-2016, being a bylaw to regulate the clearing of lands within the Town of Cobourg, in order to rename the bylaw Clean Yards and Lot Maintenance Bylaw, and to include definitions as required by the Municipal Act 2001 attached as Appendix A. If you read this, Council, you'll find that many of the items are housekeeping, and more appropriately, we thought the definition title was far more appropriate today's age. The present one, clearing of lands, would almost give an agricultural notion, and we want to ensure that this fit our more urban lifestyle in Cobourg. I'll take any questions otherwise. Councillor Rowden?
Is this going to include boulevards?
I believe, I'll go to the clerk, but I'll try to answer this to you, Councillor Rowden. I believe boulevard bylaw is a separate bylaw to this one. I remember it as being a distinct bylaw on its own merit, but I'll ask the clerk for direction as well.
Yes, Deputy Mayor Henderson, it is a separate bylaw.
Any other questions, members of council? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Against? Carried.
Your Worship, at this time we have Public Works Services.
Okay, Councillor Rowden, if you take the chair, please.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. And the first item on here is a memo from the Supervisor of Roads and Sewers regarding the awarding of a tandem truck cab and classic tender CO-17-11 PW. And the action recommended that Council authorize the award of the tandem truck cab and chassis to B&I Complete Truck Center Limited in the amount of $132,380, excluding HST, as approved in the 2017 capital budget allocation. And I believe I was away for that tender, but Councillor Darling or Councillor Sequin, I believe, attended it. If you need any other questions, I believe our Deputy Director is here today, and I think she could answer any questions that we need. Any questions on regards to the tender? Seeing none? Your Worship?
Well, not a question, Chair Rowden, just a comment, because in a way this is the only good news that came out of the fire that we had down at the Public Works building, because this particular truck, which was scheduled to be replaced in our capital program next year, and so now we're going to save a considerable amount of money in next year's capital program.
Oh, yeah, it was paid for by the insurance company, right? Okay, thank you. Any questions? None? All in favor? Carried. Item number 2 is a memo from the Manager of Environmental Services regarding a blower replacement at WPCP number 1 plant. An action recommended that Council accept the affirmative bid as submitted by W.A. Stevenson in the amount of $157,728, example $155 plus non-refundable HST, to purchase, install, and commission an Atlas Copco rotary screw blower for WPCP plant number 1, and further that Council authorize reallocation of an additional $35,000 for WCP plant number 2 generator project to cover engineering costs, which will bring the total capital cost of the project to $185,000. Any questions in regards to that? As Council will remember, we did have the MP and MPP at our plant, and there were some announcements of new money coming forward, some things, and I believe some of this may have been covered. All in favor? Carried.
Your Worship, we have Planning and Development Services.
Councillor Burkett?
Thank you, Your Worship. First item is a memo from the Director of Planning and Development regarding a request for an extension to draft plan of condominium approval conversion 45 Spencer Street East, Coburg, Roger Cooper. The action recommended that Council grant a 3-year extension to the draft approval for the plan of condominium conversion for the property known municipally as 45 Spencer Street East, Coburg. And I'd ask if there's any questions, direct them to Director McGlashan. Any questions from members of council? Councillor Rowden?
Yeah, just at 45, is that the area behind the Victoria retirement home?
Through you, Chair Burkett. 45 Spencer Street Apartments is a little bit north and west of Victoria College on Spencer at the corner of John Street. So it's a small 2.5-story, 9-unit rental apartment building, and it's subject to a number of conditions as part of the draft plan approval. Just to elaborate a little bit, the owner has not been able to satisfy the conditions, particularly the 3% vacancy rate, as it's obviously very tight. So he has asked for an extension. So final approval cannot be given until all of the conditions are satisfied.
Thank you. Any other questions from members of council? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. The second item I have is a memo from the Planner 1 Heritage Secretary Coburg Advisory Committee regarding a heritage permit application to install a generator at or on the Victoria Square property, 55 King Street West, Coburg. The action recommended that Council endorse the recommendation of the Coburg Heritage Advisory Committee and grant the heritage permit number HP-2017-019 to install a permanent generator at the property located at 55 King Street West, Coburg, Victoria Square, subject to finalization of landscaping, screening, and other details by staff, Coburg Heritage Advisory Committee, and the Ontario Heritage Trust. Any questions from members of council? Deputy Mayor Henderson?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. I have no concern with the well-written report from the Coburg Heritage and from Miss Alison Torrey-LaPere. It's well-written. The only question I have, at some point, will have any finances attached to this in terms of what are the outcomes of the finances or relation to budget? Or so that's my question.
Yeah, I believe Ian Davey will be able to help you with that.
Yes, Councillor Burkett, through you to Deputy Mayor. Where we're at right now, and first of all, this whole issue of relocating the generator basically came up during the discussions of the Victoria Square and the plans for that, and wanting to free up that the space between the market building and the mechanical building out back. And so we started investigating that, and Allison, who was part of that committee, took on as her area of expertise piloting this through the Ontario Heritage Trust to make sure they were on side with it, and also the Coburg Heritage Committee. And the initial plan, or the initial thought, was that because Water Pollution Control Plant number 2 was looking at replacing their generator, their quite ancient generator, that it might be, and the one that we have here currently on the trailer is the same size that would suit the plant. And so the initial idea was that perhaps we could just do a swap with them, and that the money to buy a new generator for here that would be pad mounted could come out of the funds that they had, basically that they would buy our existing trailer mounted generator and use that. Right now that process is still a bit up in the air with between the Director of Public Works and the manager, Mr. Peoples, as to whether they want to go with a diesel generator or a natural gas generator for plant number 2. And if they end up making the decision to go with a natural gas generator, then obviously the one that we have here would not be suited for that. Ours is a diesel generator. And so then what we would be looking at is hiring the company that we purchased it from to take it off of the trailer and basically make it into a pad mounted. So we have estimates approximately $20,000 to $30,000 to take our generator off the trailer. Our public works people would pour a pad for us in the location in the square, and then hire an electrician to do the wiring and put it in place. So that's why we don't have a subsequent report at this time as to how this will be financed. When those decisions are made by the environmental services people as to what route they want to go, then we'll come back with a report as to whether we want to go ahead and whether we need funds to do the switch here, or whether we'll basically be selling our generator to the environmental services group, and they'll install it at Plant 2 and we'll get a new one for here. So it's a little bit of a circular, but we wanted to get over this first issue of having authorization or approval from the Heritage folks that we could even entertain this concept of a permanent pad mounted generator here. So we're quite happy to have achieved that largely through Allison's hard work of putting that together for them as well.
Any other questions from members of council? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Your Worship, the unfinished business items are listed in the agenda, and there is one change in the fourth item that referred to Abbott Street sidewalk, and it is changed to say sidewalk installations policy priority list.
Okay. Thank you for that update. And Deputy Mayor Henderson.
Regarding closed session, the council meeting closed session in accordance with Section 239 of the Municipal Act SO 2001 regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, the Accessibility Advisory Committee applications, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, with regard to building code order.
Okay. Any discussion? I do believe the first item on closed session has been removed. Has it not, Ms. Brace?
That's correct. We received no applications.
Yeah, no applications. Okay. All in favor? It's carried. And I'll take a motion to adjourn. Councillor Brown. How could it be so simple?